Okay, this is our last segment, and the time has flown, and I've been excited to dig into every segment so far. So I'm coming at this with just as much energy, even though this is the last one. But I wanted to talk to you a bit about how you see kind of the future of our, future of business. And it seems like, especially with quarantine and people seeing what they thought was a for sure thing, their employment kind of, either they're being laid off or not being able to go to work. I think we're going to see more entrepreneurs, people with more great ideas flooding the market. But when businesses fail, we often write it off as people not willing to put in the work. But what I wanted to know is it possible to do all of the work and still fail? Like, is it possible to do too much? What do you think?
So those are two different questions.
Fair.
And I would say, yes, it's possible to do all the things, to do all the work and still fail. And I would put that in the big quotes mark, right? Air quotes happening here. It is absolutely possible to do it all and still fail. And if you had asked me when I transitioned from my professional organizing business to the business I have now, I would have told you I failed. I failed 100%. The vision that I had the year that my business basically fell apart, was a perfect plan for getting to $1 million and start reaching people globally. And I didn't see any gaps in that plan. And, as I said, I'm a dot the I's, cross the T's kind of gal myself. So this was going to happen. I reached my goals. I had everything in place that was going to get me there. And it all fell apart. And there was an enormous hurdle that I had to get over to understand that that failure was no big deal, and that I didn't actually fail, because the business that I have now, I love even more, if that's possible, because I loved my business. I remember falling asleep every night when I was a professional organizer thinking, this is the most amazing life. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. And I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop because I love this so much. And I love this business even more. And so for one, you can do all the right things and still fail, and it's okay. It's 100% okay to fail, because there's something there, there's a reason for that failure. I know that sounds so cliche to there's a reason for every season, and but what I would say is there is, as long as you take the time to learn it, as long as you pause long enough to say, wow, okay, so what's happening here? Am I actually failing, or is this clearing the way for something even better? I work with a coach, her name's Victoria Whitfield, and she talks about the different spiritual aspects of being in business and ways to manage your energy and your mindset. And one of the elements that she talks about is catabasis. And it's basically the destruction of what's currently there in order for something new. So you might consider this sort of like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. My previous business had to go away in order for this new business to be formed. And it was a painful process. Lots of crying and wine and chocolate, not gonna lie, but at the same time, 100% necessary in order for this to come forward. So there's going to be a lot of, right now, you could say the whole world's kind of in this moment of breaking down, letting go of the current structures and formations in order that something new come forward, and hopefully better. In this time, we've seen where there's been amazing environmental improvements. We've seen people be healthier. We've seen people be home with their families and get to know them more. And there are some really beautiful aspects that are coming out of this. This is not to diminish the pain, because there's real pain. People are really dying. There are really people who are working tremendously long hours trying to help. And that's real. There's no denying that part of it. But if something better doesn't come out of this, then you would have to question why we went through this
Right.
process. So,
Yeah.
that's kind of on a global landscape, but just really with yourself, you could have a business that, that you consider a complete failure, or that, that closes, goes bankrupt, whatever. And if you are able to discern from that experience what you can take moving forward, then it's been a valuable experience. And I would say I could not have created this place where I am now if I hadn't had those years as a professional organizer, training other organizers, reaching the people that I did and moving forward in the field as I had. It was 100% necessary, and that's likely the case. I like to kind of bring back to mind Hershey. I can't even remember his first name, but Hershey, like Hershey Park and Hershey chocolate.
Oh,
I
right.
don't
Yeah.
even know how many times that man went bankrupt before he created the. I'm trying to think I think like it was either the Hershey Kiss or the Reese's
Something.
Reese's peanut butter cup. No, that's Reese's. That's not Hershey.
It was delicious though, whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times what happens in the wake of this is destroyed relationships and, dark nights of the soul and all of that kind of stuff. So if we look at what we have kind of to model after, it's Hershey couldn't have been successful out of the gates. He had to create something and have it not work, and create the next thing and have it not work, and create the next thing, until he got to, oh, we have, many different kinds of chocolate and a fabulous theme park and, all of the things that now are labeled with his name. The same thing is true for the light bulb. Like, how many thousands of iterations of failure before a light bulb that actually worked? So failure's
I think the
necessary.
quote says 10,000.
Yep. 100% necessary. If you haven't failed in your business, you haven't been in business long enough.
So what about those people who say, "Oh, like you'll succeed if you just push harder, if you hustle more, keep going, do more." What about that? Like we have these two sides, right? You have people who are like, "No, don't do it," and then people who are like, "Yeah, hustle culture, hustle, hustle, hustle. If you're not doing it, if you're not working 70-hour weeks, you're not working. You don't care. Your dream's not important." Like, what do we do with that?
I'm going to go back to what we were talking about in your vision. Like, you don't have to infuse hard work into this.
True.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that like you're not going to sometimes work long hours. You're not going to have to make hard choices, but at the same time, that should not be the all the time mode.
Mm-hmm.
I participated in, there's all these like 30-day programs out there and stuff, and I participated in one, and I would say it was extremely valuable, but I also needed therapy afterwards because I got myself so stressed out, like doing the work that it was required. And it was that mindset, like, okay, we're going to do this thing, and if you really want it, you're going to spend 2 to 4 extra hours beyond what you're already doing in your business every single day to make this work. And what I said before is true. You have to clear space. If you're hustling to the point where there's no space for you to think and be creative in your business, then you are going to fail, and fail in the way that there's no learning. Like, you have to be able to create space for your business to survive and thrive. And I think it's wonderful now to see more and more women in business, because women are natural creators. Like, that's what we were put on this planet to do. We create things come out of our womb. We are ultimate creators. There's no better creator, right? So I know, right? But the other reality is we're also like, we seek pleasure, we seek beautiful things, and we fill our environments with all sorts of loveliness, right? Flowers and color and beautiful music and things like that. So I like the idea of moving towards your vision. There has to be room for your vision to expand. And part of what I see as the problem, if you're hustling so hard, number one, there's no room for creativity. Number two, You are not being decisive about what is in front of you, right? So you're not making that hard choice to let go of driving your kids to every activity under the sun and focus on your business, or vice versa, doing so much in your business that you have no time for your family. You're not making those hard decisions. You need to be decisive, and then it doesn't have to be pushing all the time. It shouldn't be pushing. When my clients say, I need to just do it, or I'm going to push through this, I hop on the phone. We're like, okay, what's going on? Like, red flag. Tell me what's happening here. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. When I was in the Army, that was definitely the mentality. Like, you push through, you work hard, you keep going. Um, and yeah, I mean, there were sometimes that is, in that scenario, at least, being in the military, sometimes that is what you have to do.
Yes.
But I think that's knowing the difference, right? Like, do I actually have to right now, or am I choosing to? And most people don't want to say that they're choosing to run themselves into the ground. um,
I think they do
but
when they're not decisive, right? So
yeah.
it almost becomes just sort of a de facto situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll say, I have to do all of these things. Well, do you really? Like, let's look at that. Let's look at what's really happening here. And you're right. Like there are definitely situations where you work hard and push through. The other day, I was up late and then I got up at 5:30 the next day to finish a project. But that meant that today I didn't. Today there was more expansion in my morning routine, and I didn't put quite as much work on my schedule because the day before had been a really busy day. Having room for that, understanding that there is that ebb and flow, is an important understanding.